Former President Donald Trump is available. He's on the phone and he joins us now. Mr. President, thanks very much for being on the show this morning.
Hello, Stuart.
I understand that over the weekend at a rally in Florida, you said that it was your personality that stopped Putin invading during your presidency. You want to explain that?
Well, that's very interesting. We start off with that one because if you remember when I was running in 2016, they all said Trump will get us into a war.
Right.
It's his personality. He's going to get us. And actually, now they say it was my personality that kept us out of a war. So I think it was, we had a great 4 years, and it shouldn't have happened what happened, but it did with the election, and now we have people running it. What's gone on with Ukraine should never have happened, Stuart.
Well, President Biden goes to Poland on Friday of this week. Frontline NATO state. What should he do?
Well, it's very late. The cards are laid and the cards are out, and he's got a bad hand. He's given himself a very bad hand. He had a very strong hand before it all started, the strongest. And it should have never started. It would have never, ever started if I were president. I can tell you that with 100% certainty. This is horrible. This is a human tragedy, what's going on. He's now going with a very weak hand, and he is not somebody that really mixes it up. He sits there, and everyone tells him what to do and what they're doing, and he doesn't mix it up. He doesn't. Look, it's very sad to watch. I've watched it. I've seen it. And these other countries are taking over and they're leading, and we're supposed to be the one that's leading, and they're taking advantage of us like they have. Even our allies, they take advantage of us on NATO. They take advantage of us on just about everything they can, and in particular on trade. I mean, on top of everything else, they take advantage of us on trade, and they're really telling him what they want to do, not what we want to do. So it's pretty sad to watch.
There's this discussion about whether we should send jets, MiG jets, to help the Ukrainian Air Force. Would you send in that kind of help?
Well, maybe even more, to be honest with you. And I'm the one that would have stayed out. I'm the one that would have stayed out. Let me just explain that Putin is saying things like, don't you dare send anything in. In the meantime, he's killing thousands and thousands of people. So he's acting like we're an aggressor. If we send in some old 44-year-old plane that probably gets shot out of the sky pretty quickly, and he's acting like we're terrible people if we do that. But he's killing tens of thousands of people, far more than they're reporting. You don't knock down those buildings and blow up those buildings, and they say 2 people were injured slightly. And thousands of people are being killed. And when he says, don't you dare do that, and we all say, oh, he said don't do it, we don't want to start. The fact is that what he's doing is a human tragedy. There's not been anything like this, in a sense, maybe ever, but certainly since World War II when you look at it. But there's never been anything like this.
So what do you do now? You said you'd maybe do more than just send in the MiG jets. All right. What more?
What I would do is we have tremendous military capability. And what we can do without planes, to be honest with you, without 44-year-old jets, what we can do is enormous. And we should be doing it, and we should be helping them to survive. And they're doing an amazing job. But, I was the one that sent in the javelins. I mean, everyone refuses to acknowledge that, and I took a lot of heat. And I sent it in very openly and glowingly, and they said Obama sent blankets and Trump sent javelins. Well, nobody knew how well those javelins would do and how well but those javelins that knocked out all the tanks, those were sent by me, and we sent them in large numbers, too. I didn't even realize at the time when I sent them, I said, man, that's a lot of stuff we're sending, but let's do it. Let them have a chance. Who would have thought that they would have been so powerful, the way they protected that country? But they need other kinds of help. And one thing I do rapidly is I'd get the oil flowing, because if you reduce the price of oil significantly, that war is going to end. That war is going to end. You know the expression, what you need for war is 3 things: money, money, and money. And if you bring down the price of oil, and you could knock the hell out of the price, I had it down to $1.71 at one point. In fact, it was so low that I was afraid we were going to lose our oil companies. You got to get that oil down. And if you get the oil down, that war is going to end.
But let me press you again on what extra military help you would give to the Ukrainians. You say you want to do more than just the MiG jets or the Javelins.
Yeah.
What more?
Well, I think the drones are just as effective as anything nowadays. I mean, they make drones today. We have drones that are just as effective as just about anything in the air, anything you can do in the air. And you can do drones, plus they give back tremendous amounts of information, and the information leads missiles right to whatever the hell target they are, and you don't have to shoot them from Ukraine, so therefore you're being neutral. It's so ridiculous. Look, Stuart, when he goes in and he kills thousands of people, are we going to just sit by and watch? This country will be, in 100 years from now, they'll be talking about what a travesty, what a horrible thing this is. We can't let that, just on a human basis, we can't let that happen. And then he says that they're a nuclear power, but we're a greater nuclear power. I hated to do it, but I rebuilt our nuclear capability like nobody has ever thought even possible. $2.5 trillion in our military, and a big chunk of it went to nuclear and redoing it. We had 45-year-old and 50-year-old weapons that we didn't even know if they worked. Now we have brand new stuff that's immensely powerful, and hope to God you never have to use it, because that would be the tragedy of all tragedies. But if we didn't have it, we couldn't talk. But I listened to him constantly using the N-word. That's the N-word. And he's constantly using it, the nuclear word. And we never talk of, we say, oh, he's a nuclear power. But we're a greater nuclear power. We have the greatest submarines in the world, most powerful machines ever built, most powerful, and they got built under me, most powerful machines ever built, and nobody knows where they are. And you should say, look, if you mention that word one more time, we're going to send them over, and we'll be coasting back and forth up and down your coast. You can't let this tragedy continue. You can't let these thousands of people die. It's going to be hundreds of thousands and maybe millions of people by the time it ends.
Well, let me turn to China. China has a deal with Russia. They'll help each other during this war. President Biden held this 2-hour phone call with Xi Jinping. We haven't got a transcript. We don't know what threats were on the table, but we presume...
I think I do.
Go ahead. Tell us.
We were threatened by China. You know, I heard that he said, he read a line that they gave to him about repercussions. They gave him a line, and he read it. She's very smart, okay? I dealt with all of them. I know them all. I know them better than I know you, Stuart, and I know you and I like you. And I congratulate you on the success of your show, because people love your show and they love you. But I know them better than I know you. And when they read a line, he doesn't exactly get fazed. He doesn't read lines. He gives lines. And I believe strongly that he made a threat actually to Biden, and that wasn't reported. So we should get a tape of the call, just like we did with my perfect call to the president of Ukraine, which is the reason I like him so much, one reason. And now he's proven to be, because he stood up for me with that call. He said Trump did nothing wrong. He didn't threaten me. He didn't threaten me. He could have gone the other way, could have gone woke, like guys like Bill Barr do.
Do you respect Putin?
Well, he's a different person. I'll tell you something. I got along with him. And, look, I got along with him loving this country, and he loves his country, okay? But he's a different person than he was. He seems to be different. Is he
sane?
He looks different.
Is he
he's a different
solid
person.
Mentally?
It just doesn't seem to be the same person I was dealing with. We had a decent relationship. It was very hard because of the Russia hoax, And I told him, I said, it's very hard for me to do anything for Russia and for you to do anything, because these horrible, horrible people that are, perpetrating this hoax, the Russia collusion nonsense, millions of phone calls. I never made one to Russia. Think of it. Millions of calls. They went through the phone records. Millions of calls, not one call to Russia. Well, it was a total hoax. It's come out. And the Durham report, I look forward to seeing more and more of it. I wish it could go faster.
Okay.
But I look forward to seeing more and more of it. But I will say this. We did well with Russia. They didn't attack any countries under us. I'm the only one where that didn't happen. And with Bush, they took Georgia, and they took Crimea with Biden and Obama. And now he said, to hell with it, let's take the whole thing. But even Sleepy Eyes Chuck Todd on NBC said the other day when he was interviewing, I think it was Blinken, he said, how come this never happened under Trump? China didn't do anything. Russia didn't do it. Nobody did anything. In fact, and we got along with North Korea. You know, how come none of this stuff happened under Trump? And someday you and I will sit down and I'll tell you why.